I asked you to picture the future of healthcare, what comes to your mind? For many, it's new hospitals, new drugs, advanced machines. But the real breakthroughs, the ones changing the way we live, the way we work, and even create wealth, they are happening behind the scenes. We are entering a world where medicine isn't just about treating illnesses when they show up. It's about predicting, preventing, and personalizing healthcare like never before.
When medicine is not a one-size-fits-all anymore. We're entering into a time where we're having personalized healthcare. You're getting a treatment based on your genetic makeup. You're getting a treatment based on specifically what applies to just you.
And those shifts don't just change the patient's lives, they create ripple effects across industries, economies, and families. Today, I am sitting down with someone who knows this space inside out. Tundeo Owokoniran is a clinical pharmacist, pharmacogenomics and drug development expert with over a decade of experience in global clinical trials and biotech innovations.
If you're a business leader, healthcare innovations should matter to you because first, a healthier workforce means a stronger business. And then there are opportunities. For example, we have startups, we have data analytics, we have health tech that create wealth.
In this conversation, we'll talk about what the future of healthcare really looks like, what it means for entrepreneurs and professionals outside the pharma industry, and how innovations in medicine is reshaping not just our health, but our prosperity and freedom. Let's dive right in. Your journey spans, pharmacy, global trials, biotech, and now pharmacogenomics. Now, for the benefit of those that may not know what that word means, because even I had to Google that up myself. So tell us a bit about what that means, and then can you take us back? What drew you into this space? Is it always something you wanted to do? How did you get into this space? And what has kept you passionate through all these years?
Okay, what has kept me... Okay, let me start from what drew me into this space, right? Initially, it was a very personal experience, basically. I was 12 or 13 years old. My dad had gotten ill from a chronic kidney disease. And being the last child, I used to go to the hospital visits with him, right? And then when he got his medications, he was like, too many tablets. He was probably 8 tablets in the morning and then another 6 at night. And for me at the time, I wanted to study pharmacy just because I wanted to just miraculously make a medication that would just combine all 8 tablets into one. And that was what drew me into pharmacy. And when I started pharmacy, I got more interested in the field, really. And over time, I have built love for the profession. And generally, right now, I've built too much love for healthcare. Graduated pharmacy, then, moved to the US, started working with one of the big pharmaceutical companies in the world. And turns out that they were even doing something way different. So it was more so cell therapy at the time. And this inquisitive person that I am, I was intrigued because I didn't even hear about that in school. And here I am in a different country, a different continent, where I'm working with a team that's working on the first ever commercially available cell therapy medication in the world. So I just stayed grounded in cell therapy generally since then. And over the years, I've been feeling like most of the trailblazer in that field silently. And that's why I decided to, pursue a master's degree in pharmacogenomics, basically, which is just a pharmacy of genes and genetics and, personalized healthcare. So that was really that's a summary of how I got to this place, right? Started from being wanting to be a miracle worker, and now I'm just find myself going deeper in the field.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Recently I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and he was someone that was trying to identify exactly what his purpose was. And I was chatting with him about some of the ways to identify this. And I was talking about the fact that looking back at some of your experiences kind of indicate what your purpose is. So it is exactly in your own case here, looking back at what you had to go through, watching your father going through that challenge and thinking of how to create a solution for him, but ultimately became a solution for the world, is how it is you have gotten to where you are today. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, looking back again at your career, right? What's one pivotal moment or project that shaped how you think about healthcare innovation today? Particularly because, in the conversation right now, you talked about how you moved from your home country to another country for the benefit of those that are, probably in the same situation or probably going to be moving shortly as well. How did you keep the ground running when you got into the new place, got into new environment? It's not where you're used to. How did you survive? How did you get started in that environment? And then what's one pivotal moment that has shaped how you think about healthcare innovation today?
Okay, so that would be my early days in the US. When I just came, I was coming from a country where I was already a clinical pharmacist, right, with all the reputation and prestige. And then I got here and realized that I would need to do conversion exams, need to do internship and all of that. And prior to that, I also needed to survive, right? So, I just got on the internet and just searched what can I do, with a pharmacy degree here in the US. Then I got, and that was also another thing that, opened my eyes, because back home, I was studying pharmacy and all I could think of at the time was either doing industrial pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, or clinical pharmacy, right? But here it was like a long list. There was clinical research associate, clinical project manager, there was quality assurance, all of that. I'm like, okay. So I honestly tried almost everything I saw on that list. And then I got an interview with, like I said, one of the biggest companies, one of the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies, right? And because I had known some of the products in the company from back home, I was so excited. But when I went for my interview, when I was preparing for my interview, I realized that I wasn't interviewing for the, solid dose manufacturing or solid dose pharmaceutical part of the company. I realized it was sales that a big part. So when I got there, interviewed, of course, I sounded inexperienced in that field, but I guess I just, was able to show that I was a fast learner and whatever the case would be at the time. I got the job. The pivotal moment was when I got the job. In my orientation week, they were telling us about what the drug was, what it does, how it works, and I was like, wow, it's not even a tablet, right? It's like re-engineering cells. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking, I never heard this. Like I said, I never heard this in Nigeria, right? So that moment changed how I saw things, right? It changed my approach to things. It was like, okay, I think my goal now is to go deeper in this and see if at any point in time I can start something for myself or for my country or, for my people, whatever the case may be, which, has led to some of the things that I'm doing right now. But that was my pivotal moment, because I had to change my orientation from wanting to be an hospital, to be a hospital pharmacy, into doing like clinical research and clinical project management. And I would say that has shaped my journey so far, really. It has really shaped my journey so far to this point.
Wow, thank you so very much. The thing is, those pivotal moments don't announce ahead of time that this is going to be the moment, but it takes certain sensitivity to be aware that this is the moment and for you to make a change with it. A lot of people go through those moments in time, but they miss those opportunities. They don't realize those are the opportunities for them to make changes that will make lasting changes, lasting impressions in their lives and the lives of other people as well. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we're talking a bit more about, the title of what we're talking about is Beyond the Pill. So we've always heard about, beyond the pill. Well, in your own words, what does beyond the pill mean to you in practical terms?
To me, in practical terms, beyond the pill means thinking of healthcare not as a product, but more so as a system of solutions. All right, because a pill can treat a symptom, but an innovation that's beyond pill can tackle, prevention, monitoring, access, and even education. So right now it looks like, for example, AI tools are helping to, predict adverse drug results, or even, precisely instruct how a therapy should go. Because of all these digital platforms that that connects, and then there are digital platforms that connect to patients to care faster, to training programs. So all of that holistically is what I would address as beyond the pill for me. It's about treating the person and not just the disease. It's like making the person whole again, basically.
Fantastic. And that's something that is really important even in the business world as well. We have a challenge in some place, but looking at the whole system, how does this particular thing affect the whole system, which is what it is that you're talking about now. So how do you think areas like, the pharmacogenomics, the personalized medicines, the biotech, how do you think these areas are shaping the future of treatment and patient outcomes that we know? Because we've talked about things like the cell technology and stuff like that. So how are they shaping the future of healthcare as we know it to be? Could it be that someday we could wake up and some people could decide to live forever and they look fresher every day? Tell us a bit more about some of these things.
So we are entering into a time where, where medicine is not a one-size-fits-all anymore. We're entering into a time where we're having personalized healthcare. Like you're getting a treatment based on your genetic makeup. You're getting a treatment based on, specifically what applies to just you. So, pharmacogenomics and biotech allow us to say that, based on your genetics, this is the right drug, the right dose, and the right time for you. That's powerful because it reduces trial and error prescribing. Back in the days where you prescribe drugs to patients, they come back and say, oh, it's not working, and then you up the dose. And they come back and say, "Oh, you keep upping the dose, and then you eventually switch the medication." And somehow, for example, like in pain modulation, this is how some patients eventually land on, addictive medications like that would contain some drugs that they cannot function without. But now we are being, with pharmacogenomics, personalized medicine, cell therapy, and biotech generally. We are, improving outcomes and even saving costs eventually. And the biotech space is making a lot of therapies that once seemed impossible, from gene therapy to precise diagnostics. Now, these are now part of our, real world care. Because, for example, I personally have worked on, studies or therapies that are more precise, like you don't even have to say have a colonoscopy for you to have for there to be a detection of possible colon cancer. I've worked on studies that typically would just do some sort of therapeutic magic, because I'm trying not to give out intellectual property. Some therapeutic magic for ailments that once seemed impossible to cure in the past. And then this is so individualized because it really works with your genes, your blood, your antibodies, and all of that. Yeah. So we're definitely entering into interesting times with healthcare and medicine generally.
Oh, thank you so very, very much. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening right now, elite professionals, entrepreneurs, are outside the pharma industry and probably not even understanding how things work, including me, myself personally. So why should anyone pay attention to these innovations that you're talking about? How do they affect the business world? How do they affect leadership? And even for the case of wealth creation, why should I pay attention to the pharma world like you're talking about right now?
Okay, basically, healthcare touches everything. It touches productivity, it touches the economy, even national competitiveness, even on a state level here, right? Say if you're a business leader, healthcare innovations should matter to you because first, a healthier workforce means a stronger business. And then there are opportunities. For example, we have startups, we have data analytics, we have health tech that create wealth, and also open new market. Because I've seen it's a growing trend right now where a lot of investors are investing in healthcare startups, and more conveniently in the medtech sector where people develop applications, softwares, and then they become very useful among the populace, and they become a very viable product for commercialization. And so paying attention to these trends it really isn't just good citizenship. Really, it's good business because and in that space, like I said, it's a growing trend. There's a plethora of investors right now just waiting for startups to just throw money at and say, okay, what are you bringing on? I'm bringing a software that it's something as simple as monitors your blood pressure and tells you it's time to take your medication, all of that stuff. So, yes, it is very, very good to pay attention to this because it's good business right now. I mean, it's always been any good, but it's a better business now.
It's a better business right now,
yes.
Which is part of the things that, I know people will be more particular about, especially, for people that don't understand all the medical jargons and stuff that you're talking about. It's the business side of things that they might be talking about. So what role do you see collaboration between healthcare, because we talked about a few of those things now, between healthcare, tech, and business playing in scaling solutions that truly, truly transform lives?
Oh yeah, so that is exactly where the magic happens. Collaboration is where the magic happens. As a matter of fact, for me, it's something that I'm working on too myself personally on. But so a tech company might build the artificial intelligence, right? But without a doctor or without doctors or regulators, it's seemingly useless. So pharmaceutical company or pharmaceutical industry may have the therapy, but without entrepreneurs and investors, scaling is impossible, right? And that's why we have had, in this part of the world, we have had a lot of healthcare and biotech accelerators, right? Because there's the attention, there's the awareness that there are a lot of therapies or ideas or sciences just dying on people's desks because they don't have the investors or the resources to scale. So when these sectors align, we create solutions that not only save lives, but also create industries and jobs, right? So that's actually the model that I'm trying to drive with Clean Connect NG in starting in Lagos, Nigeria, and eventually Africa, because it's something that I personally have observed here that it's something that we need back home in Nigeria, really. So yes, collaboration definitely is where the magic happens.
Collaboration is where the magic happens. And you were just talking there about, some startup initiatives that you are working on presently. So we've seen, like the AI dominance all over the world, but developing nations, developing markets like the African market are seemingly lagging behind. Now, pharma and biotech are also global industries. So from your perspectives, how do you recommend that emerging markets like Africa that I talked about fit into the future of innovation and are not left behind? Because recently we saw how during the pandemic, the solutions to, the vaccines and all of that came from certain parts of the world, and every other part of the world were subject to them. And it was used as political power, it was used as leverage in certain ways. So what do you recommend for developing markets, particularly Africa or maybe Nigeria, where we both are from? How do you see us catching up with that, rate in the future of innovation?
Unfortunately, right now, Africa is relatively young in that field, right? Africa is young and dynamic and largely untapped in healthcare innovations. That's for sure, right? So, and we have unique health challenges that can't be solved by just copy-pasting what's happening in the Western world or copy-pasting Western solution, right? But we also have the opportunity to leapfrog using mobile health, digital tools, and biotech to build solutions faster. By including Africa in clinical trials and innovation pipelines, we definitely can ensure, we will ensure treatments that are truly global, right? Because it's like, I can say we are marginalized, right? Because in the Western world, they say this is a global trial, this is a global study, global solution. But is it truly global? Because for the most part, they touch Europe, APAC, North America, South America, and then Africa's left behind. So is that truly a global solution? But Africa as one, we can truly position ourselves really as frontline in healthcare eventually, if we get it together, for lack of better words. But by including Africa in clinical trials and innovation pipelines, definitely that would be truly global solutions. And also it will unlock a massive economic growth, because you have no idea. I look at Africa, I look at Nigeria, my country, and I'm like, nobody's even thinking of the billions of dollars that is untapped in that space. Because in the Western world, clinical study, clinical trial, drug development is a whole industry. So it's $1 billion industry, so if not, multi-billion dollars. But back home in Africa, we seemingly just waiting for the solutions here and then exporting, importing in Africa. So yes, other than unlocking, ensuring that treatments are truly global and truly applies to our race, then we are also be unlocking a massive economic growth.
That's really impressive. And, one of the things that recently came to mind as you were speaking there is I currently live in Ireland here, and I remember a case of a lady that her daughter had sickle cell, but because it is not a disease that is common in this part of the world, right? It was difficult for her to get, to get a solution or to get proper care for her daughter, who is unfortunately late now. And she started a lot of advocacy around that to try and bring that kind of awareness upward. So like what you're talking about now, because the Western world will focus on things that are particular to their nature, to their understanding and stuff like that. So for particularly maybe policymakers in the developing nations that may be catching up on this podcast right now, what advice would you be giving to them? How do you think they can run this game? Because obviously we are way behind on this, right? But what would you, if you had the opportunity to speak to maybe the Minister of Education, a Minister of what is it called, medicine or whatever in Nigeria, or in developing nations in Africa, right? What would you be saying to them? How can we play catch up in this game on a larger scale?
In leadership, right? I have learned that leadership is about balance. It's about balance. It's pushing innovations while maintaining compliance, right? So, and that's in a very highly regulated I6 environment. You really need integrity, because the stakes are literally human lives. We cannot dispute that. It's human lives. But you also need empathy, because teams under pressure perform best when they feel supported, right? So I feel like if I was going to advise a major stakeholder in the healthcare industry right now, it would be, to create an environment that encourages people to come up with their innovations, right? And then, because that way we can build a product, we can have minds that build products that are adaptable and peculiar to our own problems, right? Because talking about going back to the kind of example that you raised about sickle cell, I personally worked on a study here that was around sickle cell, right? But because it's not so rampant here, that study had issues with enrolling subjects and patients for that. And I'm sitting here thinking, on the street that I grew up, I knew at least 5 back home, so if I was going to speak to any stakeholder right now, it would be, that empathy, that conducive environment that shows support, because now we can do something that's adaptable, and then because no 2 trials or projects would ever unfold the same way. So that combination, would shape how you would lead, because now you just have to be adaptable, flexible, create a supporting environment, and just balance the innovation and compliance.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so very much. So when you're looking at the future of healthcare, from your perspective, what exactly excites you the most? What kind of legacy do you hope your work would contribute to ensure that even long after when you're gone, that legacy will continue to speak for you? So what excites you the most, and what do you hope your legacy will be on the work that you do?
What excites me the most right now is the convergence. It really is the convergence. Is seeing artificial intelligence, AI, biotech, and personalized or individualized medicine all coming together, right? And for me, the legacy that I want to leave behind is bringing the opportunity and showing that Africa belongs at that table as well. My hope really is that my work contributes to building an ecosystem where healthcare innovations doesn't just happen in Lagos or in New York, but is connected and is global and is inclusive. So whatever is happening in Lagos, it's somehow connected to whatever is happening in New York. It's not like, oh, that happened in New York and that happened because we've really had true life examples. Like when with the Ebola breakout, Lagos did a very great job at containing that. And if we look at how the world entirely, the whole world overcame Ebola, we cannot say that story without Lagos. But then it's just like Africa, everybody depends on Africa when it's Africa's time to save the world. The same thing happens with COVID. COVID broke out. Lagos, Nigeria, we did a great job at containing compared to the Western world. I had numbers than we did. So it really is my legacy to in helping position Africa as a hub of world-class health innovation while inspiring the next generation to dream bigger. Then I'll be proud, but definitely be proud.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. The Growth Code podcast, one of the reasons why we set up this podcast is to help, elite entrepreneurs and professionals to be able to scale to 7 or multiple figures, but without sacrificing time, family, and freedom, without sacrificing things that matter to them the most, which is in cases like health. From your perspective as a health professional, what advice would you give to people that are hoping to build, those multiple lifestyles, but we know how chaotic, hectic, challenging it could be? What would you be recommending in terms of ensuring that even while we are making a living, we have that life to enjoy the living at the end of the day? What recommendations would you be making?
My recommendation for that really would be, to be honestly, is to live life one moment at a time, one day at a time, really. I say that because it's so easy to get swamped with like your goals and what you're working on, and every other thing around you keeps moving, kids keep growing, And before you know it, you've missed out on a lot of opportunities to make actual memories. You've missed out on opportunities to take a breather, to relax, right? So that's how I do it is, as much as I'm very focused on all of this, I take it one moment at a time. I take breaks when I need to. I compose myself, oblige myself to take these breaks. I don't jeopardize family time for any of this, because at the end of the day, when you spend these extra hours doing this work, when you spend this extra time, extra money, or whatever the case may be, doing all of this work, in the next 5-10 years, let's say you're employed right now in the company, right? In the next 5 or 10 years, that company wouldn't even remember that you put in all that time, right? But guess who's gonna remember? The family, people that didn't get to spend that time with you. Now they would remember, So my advice is to, enjoy the journey as it goes. Take your breathers, take your breaks, take your vacations, take whatever you need that helps you unwind. Make sure you don't jeopardize that, because it also helps give you a sound mind, because without a sound mind you cannot be productive.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. And as we begin to wrap this up, imagine you had a magic wand, right? And you could use that magic wand to create a magical pill for professionals and entrepreneurs today, right? It may not be a real drug, just something for the fun of it. What would you want that drug to do? So you had that magic wand, you could create any pill, right? A magic pill that could solve just one problem for professionals and entrepreneurs for the world today, right? What would that pill be?
Oh, what would that pill be? That pill would be, wow. That pill would be one that can help you predict outcomes. Yeah. Because then you gamble less. Then you invest your time more wisely. Then you invest your resources more wisely, and then you save more time and you make it faster to the finish line.
Oh, fantastic. Now, maybe you can help us produce that pill so that a lot of us could actually, I'm sure I'll be one of your best clients, right? Because we face a lot of challenges in life trying to figure out the exact thing to do, right? But if we have that kind of pill where I just have to, take on the pill, especially when I'm going to speak to one of my clients, I know exactly what the challenge is. I don't need to beat around the bush. my life will be so much easier. So please go ahead and create that pill for us. And then maybe we could go into partnership. We need to how to market the pill. So thank you so very much. We really, really enjoyed this conversation with you. Just before we let you go, any last words or comments for those that are watching right now, especially for those entrepreneurs and professionals that want to build seven-figure lifestyles without sacrificing time, family, or freedom? What would you be saying to them?
What I'll be saying to them right now is, my advice to everybody right now would be that, take note of your journey. Like, everything you go through in life has a purpose. Eventually, there's one quote that I saw somewhere, I can't remember word for word, but basically means that most of the time we find out that the keys to unlocking the shackles that we are in is in our hands. So many of our experiences did not come by error. We went through them for a reason, and just take note of them, draw the lines, connect the dots, and you will see the purpose.
Oh, wow. Thank you so very, very much. On behalf of myself and everyone that's going to be jumping on this podcast later on, would like to appreciate you for taking our time out of your very busy schedule. I know how long it took us to be able to, pen you down for this conversation. So thank you for making our time to join us on the Growth Code podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Today's conversation with Tunde tells us something powerful. Innovation in the healthcare is much more than pills, prescriptions, and clinical trials. It's about creating a future where people live longer and healthier lives. and where entrepreneurs, leaders, and professionals actually build businesses and careers that truly serve humanity. The real wealth isn't just in the numbers that we chase. It's in the freedom, the time, and the vitality to enjoy those numbers. And as we've heard today, innovation in pharma is giving us a chance to be able to align health with prosperity in ways we have never seen before. If you've enjoyed this conversation today, share it with someone who cares about the future, whether that's in healthcare, business, or in leadership. And remember, the 7-figure lifestyle isn't just about income. It's about freedom. It's about the legacy that you leave behind. Till I come your way again, remember there's greatness on your inside and the world is waiting for you to birth and manifest your greatness. Go out there and be profitable, and I will see you next time on the next edition of the Growth Code podcast. Bye for now.